from the cast, Laura Dern. Her fellow cast member, Adam Driver. And writer-director of the film, Noah Baumbach. So nice to see all three of you here. This is very exciting. So for you, Adam, how did when you think back to working with Noah for the first time, at what point did you think, okay, this is a guy I want to work with again?
I think it was probably during the first time we were working together. I remember a very specific thing, which when we were shooting Francis Ha, there was a scene at a party that I didn't know was an actual party that they were shooting at. So I showed up early and walked into the party that was going on and asked, what we're supposed to be, and everyone was very confused by what I was asking. So I went out and waited outside, and then they were shooting a scene in a subway, which I didn't know. And Sam Levy, who was the DP, and Greta, and Vicky Sumner, and Noah came walking up the street, and I think Sam was holding the camera, and that was it. And I'm like, oh, this is what I want to be doing. And just reading his writing before I met him, seeing his movies and then reading what he'd written, there was just something about his perspective and that I immediately gravitated toward.
Laura, what do you recall about your initial conversation with Noah about this film and the character of Laura?
Well, just to say, like Adam, when you meet Noah, you hope to work with him the rest of your life. Specific to the character of Nora, the question that we were contemplating is, who is that person that you frankly rely upon as your guide through what is, for many, the worst moment in their life. And yet, it's completely curated and somewhat manipulated for a win, and you lose your life in some ways, but they're also doing it for you, and how confusing that journey is.
I've never seen anyone on a screen like this woman. Have you guys met someone like her? Where did she come from?
It came both from our imagination. I thinking of Laura playing this part. Her first line is, sorry I look so schleppy, I hadn't invented kids. Is fine on the page, but knowing that Laura's doing that, and describing, as I'm writing that scene, describing her striding across the room and taking off her shoes, I have the ability to write that knowing it's Laura, and that was a great gift for me in this movie.
Adam, given the fact that your character and Laura's character are kind of antagonistic in the film, did that at all affect how you two interacted with each other on the set? What a bummer if you couldn't kind of hang out with Laura Dern on the set of your movie because you played someone that wasn't getting along with her.
I don't know if she's...
I want to sit like this now.
I'm glad you did that very move, because that is what's so extraordinary and singular about Noah's writing. It's an incredible, rare privilege to escape into a scene where so much of the work is done for you that then you can really be a play from take to take and explore all the different ways emotionally these characters might interact, because you're not also finding your place in it for the first, perhaps, several takes or something.
You take your cast through some of these smaller creative decisions that you've made with your department heads.
Generally the rehearsal process starts just doing the lines, getting used to the language of it, and that's always just the actors and me. When the blocking starts to get formed, then where you hang a picture suddenly becomes meaningful, and that's something that maybe, that the actor can get something from. Laura was very much a part of her wardrobe and designing the office. Adam and I had many conversations about all of those things, and I find, we talked about it in a sense that like Charlie is, because Charlie as a character is kind of catching up the whole movie, that in a sense he's even like dressed for the past. He's still wearing, I feel that way a little bit today. I want this sweater. I left New York this morning. But that he's wearing that overcoat and sweater, that he's still dressed for another life. Those are, things that I find that if we have as much of the dialogue going with everybody, the actors and the key designers, we're all going to just make the movie better. We're all going to get good ideas.
Adam, the argument scene between you and Scarlett in Charlie's LA apartment is so powerful. It feels so unpredictable and spontaneous, and yet my understanding is that it was quite obviously meticulously choreographed.
When it came to shooting that scene, which we shot for 2 days, and we would start from the very beginning and do it all the way to the very end, because it's very hard, or it's seemingly very hard, but you're surrounded by so much focus and detail that you don't need to go inside yourself to find any answers. You really just have, it's similar to what Laura was saying, is that if you really just say it and mean it, and if it's good writing, then it opens your imagination to, you could look at a detail where you're looking at Scarlett's face or a picture of your son, and suddenly the line takes on a new meaning. In a way, it wasn't as hard as you would imagine, because you just have to look out, and so much is coming back at you that you just have to be open to it and mean what you're saying.
Laura, when you saw the movie for the first time and you saw and heard Julie Hagerty, Mary Weaver, Scarlett Johansson, and Adam all singing Sondheim, was there any envy?
No, there was such bliss. I mean, I just was, euphoric. And Adam's song is just one of the incredible.
Was the idea to have you sing the number from Company something that came out of a conversation between the two of you, or no, it wasn't you pitching him the idea?
It was actually Adam brought up a few years ago. Was there a movie of the musical Company? One thing that came from that was Adam should sing "Being Alive" in some movie, and I'm part of the joke that the whole movie was reverse engineered just to get out.
Adam, did you have input as to when in the shoot that scene, that song would be filmed? Did you care if it was at the beginning or the end or the middle of the shoot?
Yeah, no, I wanted to delay it as long as possible. Yeah, that's, I think the thing about acting always is that you always can have to rehearse and kind of know what you're doing, but have to be willing to let it all go, because you just don't have control. It's a very weird that way, that you're expected to not have control in a very controlled environment. And often the things that you think you need as an actor, other people will tell you, that you can't have them. So you kind of have to roll with it. So regardless of what I would have wanted, the schedule dictated that we waited to the end, which wound up being better, for me to do it, because I had the whole LA stuff behind me, and in what we were talking about.
Before we go, I want to end with a question for all of you, not to put you on the spot, but not counting people who are in this room, is there a performance in this movie that just tickles you the most?
Well, I feel like I can't answer that. Because my job really is, with every character at every moment, I always want to get the most out of the moment and the humanity of the person, even if it's a smaller scene.
Or is there a scene or a moment that you particularly like?
Well, I like all of them. It's like just to fall back on cliche, but you are in the courtroom scene, when Ray's Ray Liotta's associate Ted sneezes, that was not in the script. And it's only that one take, and it's only that one time, and Ray is talking, and it's, because I've watched the dailies, I can see him realize internally, like, oh no, I'm about to sneeze. But he does it, and Adam, as Charlie in that kind of traumatic moment, just the deadpan, God bless you. Which is both real and fictional at the same time. Those are amazing things with those kinds of things. Have you get a real sneeze in a movie?
That wasn't so hard, no, was it? Or are you going to say, was there a moment, like a little crisis moment or person?
No, I can't, but I can only add to this chorus of an homage back to our writer-director that we're so in love with every single character because he gives us full stories. I mean, Merritt Weaver gives us an entire person without necessarily knowing her marriage, who she is as a mom. We know everything.
Guys, it's such a pleasure to sit with you, and thank you all for being